Hello and welcome, and today we're doing a review of What Colour Is Your Parachute 2015 version, the classic job hunting and career changing book. Probably the most famous book ever written about job hunting and career changing. It says on the cover that it's the best selling job hunting book in the world, and it's so popular that it's updated on an annual basis. It's on the shelves since 1970, and that's 45 years, guys, and that's a testament to its popularity. It's written by Richard Bolles. That's spelled B-O-L-L-E-S. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but it's spelled B-O-L-L-E-S. So I'm going to call him Bolles. And according to Time magazine, it's one of the all-time 100 best non-fiction books ever written. It also has some good stuff on the back praising it, and in the opening pages with its comments from reviewers and readers. But does it actually live up to the hype? And more importantly, does it do what it says on the tin? I guess the very fact that it's still selling after 45 years does say something about it in itself. I first bought the book several years back. In fact, this book was recommended reading on my career coaching diploma course, but I loaned it to somebody and I never got it back. So if you're watching this, Fiona, it's okay, you can keep it now because I've got a brand new one. The funny thing is, it was only when I reread the 2015 version that I realised how much of what Richard Bolles says, whatever his name is, much of what he says in the book corresponds with my own particular approach to my work as a career coach. So I think it's reasonable to say that although it's been a long time since I read the book, it has been an influence. The book is sold internationally, apparently in 22 different languages. It's translated into 22 different languages, but it does have a US slant to it. However, I wouldn't let that put you off buying the book if you're not from the US. The fundamental information is very relevant to most modern economies anyway. So let's get dug into the book itself. The book describes itself, it says it up here, it describes itself as a practical manual for job hunters and career changers. And that's what it is. However, it is a little different from other career type books in that it could be regarded as, in a sense, as being holistic. Why do I say this? Well, one of the central themes of the book emphasises the idea that one should know themselves, and if you exclude the appendix and the opening preamble parts of the book, about a third of the whole book is dedicated to helping you to know thyself and building an inventory of self-knowledge. And that's something that I certainly subscribe to, especially in terms of career change. Right, structurally, the book is divided into two sections. You can't really see it. Maybe you can there on the camera. You can see that there's a blue section there at the back, and then there's the white pages. The main body of the book is standard white pages containing the very central chapters of the book, and the last quarter of the book, the blue pages, it's a very long appendix. I'll talk more about the appendix later. There are 11 white page chapters, almost 250 pages long. And the appendix goes from A to F, bringing the number of pages to about 350, there or thereabouts. The book opens with a look at today's job hunting scene and the main changes that have happened in the modern job hunting world, from the influence of the internet to the economic collapse of 2008 and its impact on job hunting. The opening chapters, they go beyond just discussion. They get into the practical side of developing your online presence, or from a resume perspective, they get into that fairly quickly, and it dips into LinkedIn and other aspects of what Richard calls the Google resume. It's good stuff. It's good stuff overall, and it has plenty of useful advice and tips. The book then moves to the job hunting aspect of things, beginning at chapter 3. And chapter 3 is short, but it's good, and it includes what it calls advanced job hunting skills, and it lists off 10 important job hunting concepts. Oddly, I thought from the point of view of the book's structure, the next chapter moves on to offer interview advice and tips, and from there it goes to salary negotiation. Now, although job hunting does get a little coverage in chapter 3, it's not dealt with in great detail, and to jump to interview and salary negotiation at this point, when it's unlikely that the reader has even progressed to the point where they're getting an interview, it might be premature, not to mention salary negotiation. I mean, salary negotiation is important and it has its place, but if you're at that point, why would you even bother to read the rest of the book? My instinct would be to leave the interview and salary negotiation stuff till much later in the book. Ironically, this phase of the book ends at chapter 6 with what you do, and it ends at chapter 6, which deals with what do you do if your job hunting isn't working. Here again, the sequence of events, it just doesn't match up if you're reading the book from start to finish. I mean, the book does work as a dip in and dip out job, but there's no real directions as to how you should go about this. Yeah, the chapters are fairly clearly labelled and that helps, but at the same time it can be a little bit confusing. The upshot is that you're ready to negotiate a salary for a job you not only haven't got, but you're not even getting results from your job hunting. Now we come to the phase of the book that I mentioned earlier, dealing with improving your self-knowledge, the know thyself part, and building an inventory of knowledge. And this is the phase that takes up about 2/3 of the book. It starts at chapter 7, and after a short discussion on why it's important that you should know yourself, the book introduces you to the seven-petaled flower, which is Richard's self-inventory tool. In essence, what we have here is 7 aspects of self-knowledge that you can explore using the flower model or concept. The whole section of the book here is filled with questions, worksheets, and things called prioritization grids, designed to allow you to explore and extract self-knowledge in each of the 7 areas, as represented by the petals of a flower until the flower is complete. Now, I've worked through some of these exercises in the past, and this is where I think we hit a problem. Some of the exercises are fairly challenging and time-consuming, and I think many who'll attempt to do them on their own, they won't complete them. In a workshop setting, yes, but on your own, working from a book, sure, many of you will have the self-discipline needed to get through all 7 petals, but some of you won't. As well as that, the worksheets themselves, they need to be completed, and trying to do that, trying to write on a paperback format, it's physically, it just doesn't work that well. Fortunately, there is a workbook and it's sold separately, but it does cost an extra $10. The flower exercise is a big part of the book, so if you intend on doing it, I think investing in the in the workbook, that's a good plan. Although I haven't seen it, it should be a lot easier to physically complete the thing. Plus, you have your work all in one place. I think I might order it myself actually, just to check it out and report back on it. So after completing the flower exercise, the self-knowledge gained should help you identify what type of work you should be doing, and chapter 8 deals with this. So next up, it's time to deal with handicaps and barriers you might have towards getting work, and that's dealt with in chapter 9, and it's a worthwhile read, a hugely important subject. As we approach the end of the white section, the 10th chapter talks about career change and offers 5 ways to approach career change, and this is really about what I would call the contemplation stage, more so than actually making the change. Finally, chapter 11 deals with starting your own business. Starting your own business is certainly worth a mention, as it's a huge aspect of career change. Lots of people go that way. But realistically, you're not going to be able to do much to help someone start a business in one chapter. So that's the book. It's packed up with useful stuff, and Mr. Bowles gives a lot of links and information about other sources and resources that can help you. So the blue page is called the appendix. These are the blue pages, if you can see them there. All right. The blue pages, they start out with a section on our mission in life, and it has a fairly religious theme to it. Richard writes at great length as to his reasons for bringing God into the picture. He then talks about our life's mission as a vocation, and I'm sure some people will be okay with that. That said, while I agree with that our careers are central aspects of our lives, not all would agree that it takes that depth of fervour to find work and carve out a fulfilling career. So it won't kill you to read it, and you can take it as seriously or not as you wish. Next up, we have a section for returning veterans. I guess the book is written in the US, and the US military is a huge employer, and I do believe that many returning veterans, they have problems finding work, so that's what that's about. And if you're a vet, it does have an awful lot of useful contact information for you. We also have a section on how to deal with unemployment, and finally a section about accessing career counselling and professional services and that. And that's it. So overall, I think the book is full of excellent information, and it's well worth reading. It comes at career change and job hunting from a non-traditional angle, and it's an angle that I certainly agree with, though I don't agree with all of what it says in the book. If you're thinking of career change, it's a worthwhile investment, but I do think the workbook is a must if you want to work your way through the flower exercise. As a practical manual, I feel the author gets a bit carried away. He brings in a lot of information and a lot of superfluous stuff. In fact, I think that maybe he tries to cover too much ground on too many angles rather than focusing on the essentials. The result is that the book is not concise and to the point as a manual should be, and it doesn't really take a step-by-step approach either. I also feel that the book is more suited to the dip in and dip out approach, and not all parts of the book are immediately relevant to every reader. And in that regard, I think it would be useful to include a guide, just the same as the way the dummies books do. That would help readers navigate the tome, especially given that the structure is, shall I say, unusual. It's not really sequential. There's a lot of information here, but it's easy to get lost in it. The flower exercise is Richard's baby, but it does take a lot of work, and in my view, you need the workbook, so that adds another 10 bucks. I feel the exercise is perfect in a workshop setting. In a book format, I think maybe it's a little bit outdated, in that modern technology has given us online tools and the like that can do the job much faster and easier. In chapter 10 on career change, Richard talks about these tools and online assessments and psychometrics, etc. And he makes some reasonable points about the reliability of such tests. He's right to the extent that there are a lot of poor quality tests out there, but there's also some very, very good ones. The advantage of the flower test or the flower assessment, whatever you want to call it, is that it involves you at a deeper level than an online assessment tool will. Would I recommend this book? Absolutely. It contains a wealth of really good information that will benefit any job seeker or career changer. It gives an insight into the jobs market that most career books don't. It's encouraging and it's motivating, and it does hold your interest and as a read, even if it can be a little bit esoteric and unorthodox in places. Is it still a classic? Absolutely.